Well, hello, freedom seekers. This is the weekly update and my report where I bring to you information about the transition that I'm going through in my life, knowing that you're going through transitions in your life, moving from a monogamous life to an ethically and consensually non-monogamous life. That may be a life in polyamory, may be a life in open relationships. It may be a life as a swinger. It may be just simply having, a variety, a combination of those things. And that's why we kind of bring everything under the umbrella of what we call ECNM. That's ethical and consensual non-monogamy. And so whatever the transition that you're making is, then I've been through that transition myself. And after having been through that transition myself, now I am using the transition I'm currently going through, and that is to make my income online, make money online. And so using that transition to make money online, it's all the same process, believe it or not. I got to thinking about this. It's all the same process that I use to transition from monogamy into my ethical and consensual non-monogamous life some 13 years ago. And so here now I am going to, on a weekly basis, come before you and talk to you about the transition that I am making, so that that'll help you in making the transition that you need to make from monogamy into a ethically and consensually non-monogamous life. And so to get us started here, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen so that I can stay on point with seeing stay on point with my notes, and that way you can follow along as well. So there are some questions. In fact, I'll give you a little bit of background here. Before we get started with that, then let me ask you to go ahead. If you have not seen my videos before, then certainly do not do this. But if you have seen my videos before, then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, become a regular subscriber, and don't forget to click on that little bell so that you get notified when I go live or when I have a new video up or something of that nature. And so become a subscriber. But then beyond that, that's just something that really helps me to know that there are people that I am making an impact with. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your subscribing. I appreciate your giving me that vote of your support. And then hopefully you'll be back again to watch another video. And then also, be sure to also make comments in the video as you watch the video and you have thoughts that pop in your mind, questions or anything of that nature. Feel free to comment down there in the comments section, and then give the video a like. And if you feel like sharing the video, if there's something there that you really want to share with other people, whether you email someone the link or you put the link in your Facebook profile or a profile on an adult site like FetLife or something of that nature, so that other people have a chance to benefit from this information as well. I really appreciate it. So let's go ahead with all that. Then let's go ahead and get started, because I try to bring you a little bit of teaching or training, along with sharing then my own transition for the week and give you a report. And so here today, this is our week 3 update since I started this. This is the 3rd week. And so I thought about something as a coach, and that Kat and I, my partner Kat and I, we are certified coaches, and helping people create a magnetic lifestyle that they absolutely love. And there's what we'll call unpacking questions that need to be gone through in a person's life, and helping them to create the life that they love the most. And so one of the things that as a coach is that we also have our own coach, and our coach takes us through regularly these unpacking questions. So there's several different variations of these unpacking questions, but I thought today I would like to go through these unpacking questions. There's 6 of them, and really apply these unpacking questions to this process of transformation that you're going through, transforming your life from monogamy to non-monogamy, and then also the transformation I'm going through, transforming my life to be making my money online. So then these 6 questions are all relevant. And so let's go ahead and get started with the first one. And that is, what area is the biggest transformation gap in? And actually there's 6 questions. And once you identify the first one, you see, because I want to make sure that you are creating a life that you love and you're focused on working on the things that you really need to work on the most. Because sometimes it's easy to kind of be like a little squirrel and you end up running off in different directions, but it's not necessarily the thing that is needed most in your life. And so, for instance, that's why right now, I'm working on my work and wealth, and this report will be talking to you more about the things that I go through on a weekly basis. But I'm working on transitioning into more meaningful work and greater wealth for myself, and so, you know, for instance, though, that I hope that you're here because you're transitioning, in your area of transition is in your relationships and in your sex life. That's certainly where I found myself 15 years ago. But on the other hand, though, that, you know, it could be that your focus needs to be on your health and wellness. You know, in that if you hardly have the health, if your health is going downhill fast, then you need to get that turned around. And it doesn't matter what your sex life is like if you don't have good enough health for it. And it doesn't matter what your love life and relationships and your friendships and everything else is like. You just need to get your health situation so that you're in a good path with your health. And so that would maybe the item that's of greatest need for transformation in your life. And certainly we want you to get that on track so that you can have a life and create a life that you love the most, instead of continuing just to watch it go downhill. And that's kind of where I was up until the time that I opened my marriage some 13 years ago, because then I realized that, you know, I wasn't incredibly unhealthy, but in the 25 years, or at that point it was 27 years of monogamy, well, I had gained 110 pounds and I wasn't headed in a healthy direction. And so I got my wife and I went through a 2-year transition. We opened our marriage. And after I opened my marriage, I realized that, hey, I was going to really have a wonderful time having relationships with women and having sex with women that I was really, really looking forward to enjoying. But to really maximize that, I needed to turn my weight around. And then also I started becoming a practicing being a nudist. You know, I'd go out to places where, like a nude beach or a nudist resort and things like that. And so I enjoyed being a nudist as well. And I started realizing that, yeah, there's overweight people out there, but I wanted to be in a much better shape than I was. And so my transition into non-monogamous life, it really helped me make other transitions as well. And that's where my non-monogamous life, my transition into that 13 years ago, started 15 years ago. My wife and I took 2 years to transition our monogamous marriage into a non-monogamous life. And so after we went through that 2 years, then that culminated 13 years ago. I've lived a non-monogamous life, and it's been a wonderful time, and it's been really opened up more doors of opportunity for me to transform my life. And so we wanted to start out with having you decide, what is the biggest need that you have? You know, our relationships and sex life is certainly the things that impact the joy that we have in our life, really more than anything, unless your health is really in the crapper. And so if your health is in the crapper, take care of that first, and then transition your relationships and your sex life. If your health is reasonably good, then yes, go transition your relationships and your sex life so that you can be enjoying the lovely, lovely aspects of having a non-monogamous life. And I enjoyed a little bit of that myself last week, and you know, certainly I'm here right now in Ventura, California with my partner, Kat. But, I have other people, other women that I see on a regular basis. And I really enjoyed just a lovely time with a woman last week. And Kat just enjoys the fact that I have the time and spend the time to do that. So then after you go ahead and identify where the biggest area is that you have a gap from where you are at, where you want to be, then the next thing is to compare right now. Where are you now compared to where you want to be? Take a look at your point A, which is where you're at now, and your point B, which is where you'd like to be. So for instance, then 15 years ago, I was in a place where, physically, in my case, physically, I was overweight, but, sexually, I was miserable. And I reached a point in my life where I just was not. I was 47 years old, been married for 25 years in monogamy, was a virgin when I got married, never had sex with anybody else, and sex had not been good for 25 years. Even though we had done a lot of things, gone to sex therapists, gone to workshops and seminars, read books, watched videos, and done numerous things, went to the doctor, counseling and therapy, and spent over $50,000 to try to fix our problem. We kept working on it, and suddenly we realized that maybe the problem really didn't need to be fixed in the way that we thought, and what we needed to do instead is to live more of an open relationship style. And but so physically, I was sexually miserable, and so that's where I was. That was my point A. Where my point B was, after 25 years of being sexually miserable, I came to a point of realizing that I didn't want to live my rest of my life being in that place. Instead, I wanted to go ahead and move forward in my life, knowing that I was going to be enjoying my sex life. However that came out, because at that time, 15 years ago, I didn't know if that meant being a swinger or if that meant just having an open relationship or polyamory. Most of this was foreign to me. And so I didn't have enough knowledge, enough experience really to know what that looked like. I just knew that I was going to enjoy a really great sex life, having sex with other women that were not my wife. And I wasn't going to be cheating. I was going to do that openly and honestly and be ethical and consensual with everything I did. And so that meant that I either had to end up getting a divorce, which I was at that point, after 27 years of monogamy. I was actually 25 years at that point, 25 years of monogamy. I was willing to risk getting a divorce if that's what it took. Now, that was a pretty big risk, because my wife and I, my wife hadn't worked in a job for 15 years, and I had built several businesses, at that point just starting my third business. And so starting my third business, I had two successful businesses and sold those, and starting my third business, which then was going to be my biggest business, and that's where I made really a lot of money. And so I was at a place where what I had to risk was potentially my whole business life blowing up on me. But if your sex life is miserable, it doesn't matter how good you're doing in your business life or in your work life. It's kind of like, you got to take care of your health first. If your health is really bad, you got to get that turned around. And then you got to get your sex and relationships, that part of your life, turned around. And then you can go ahead and focus on your work and your wealth, because it's your relationships and sex life that makes it all worthwhile. And your health, then without that, you have nothing. And so emotionally, I was in a terrible place where I was when I was in that point of monogamy and wanting to be non-monogamous. And then emotionally, I loved my wife, but I was just so frustrated sexually that I was drained emotionally more than I was filled up. For 25 years, we had lived in monogamy, and it just drained me. Now, my beliefs, though, were something I really had to struggle with, because, you see, my beliefs, I had lived a very religious life, And so a lot of my beliefs were stuck back there in my religious thinking. And so some of those needed to be transformed and changed along the way. Now, energetically, I talk a lot about energy, and that is our words and our thoughts and our feelings. This is our personal energy that we have control over, but most of us don't take control of it. We give that control away to other people. How we do that? Well, if you end up just reacting to people and reacting to things, like getting upset about something as a reaction, then that's where you're giving your control over to something or someone else. So energetically, so oftentimes our words and our thoughts and our feelings are in response to other people and other things, or we've gone through life on autopilot and lived a default life where we're just kind of doing what's expected of us. You may be doing fine financially. You may be even impressing your relatives and impressing your neighbors and your friends about how well you have done. But you just really got there by doing what everybody thought you should do. And that doesn't mean that's helped you to create a life that you love the most. And so you kind of got to then take a look at where you are now compared to where you want to be. Your point A is where you're at now. Point B is where you want to be. And so that's what we call the gap then, once you identify that. And so if you had a magic wand, what would you change about those items? Sexually, physically, what would I change? Well, I would change, the fact that I would start having sex with many more women. And emotionally, that I would even allow myself to love other women. I think it's wonderful to be able to be emotionally involved with multiple women and just share love on various levels. There's different levels of love that you can share with people. And so that's one of the things for me is that it was wonderful just to be able to take and just love everybody. And whether that love just took on this situation like a friendship or neighborly love or love for humanity, or that love went much deeper and actually fell in love with somebody or with multiple people. It's a wonderful thing. And so, take a look at, if you had a magic wand, what would you change? What would you change about your beliefs, about the things that you believe? What would you change about your words, your thoughts, and your feelings energetically? What would you change? And so start to identify and write these things down. That's why I've shared my screen with you on this with my notes. And so that you can pause the video and you can write these things down for yourself. What if you had a magic wand, what would you change about those items? And then, really think about and get clear about, where do you want to be? For me, I was clear about the fact that I just wanted to have sex with women that was going to be wonderful and fulfilling. And I found then that I actually, Kat and I, in fact, were talking about this just last night, in that, I really find that I thrive in my life the best when I am having sex with other women besides just my partner. And here in California, I'm with my partner, Kat. When I'm in Seattle, I'm with my partner, Chris. But I thrive the most in my life and creating the life that I love the most when I am every week having sex with a friend, another woman that I'm not necessarily deeply involved in a relationship with. Or maybe because I know that one of the things that Kat and I are down the road going to create is an idea of an intentional family where we're going to have, like Kat's like a kind of like a non-legal wife. We're going to have some other non-legal wives. They're going to be part and join our intentional family unit, and they'll live with us. And so, at that point, I may just be so busy enjoying sex with the people that are under my roof, so to speak, that I may not really feel the need or the desire to have sex outside of the people that are in my family. I don't know. I'll be reporting about that when I get there. That's a couple of years away. But in the meantime, that I enjoy every week having sex. Now, do I have sex every week with someone other than the partner I'm with? No, not every week, because sometimes I'm just far too busy. Work gets in the way. This coronavirus gets in the way of that, but yet I do find that I thrive the best and have the life that I love the most when I'm having sex with a friend or two every single week. And that'd be a female friend or two. And so that's how I then find that I create the life that I love the most and I thrive in it. And so where do you want to be? That's your point B. Now, for right now, I'm not moving from monogamy to a non-monogamous life, and that's where I am helping you to transition to. I'm moving to a place of having my income where I make I make my money online. I make my money over the internet and online. And so for that, I want to be able to take, and that's my point B. And right now, my point B is my overriding desire is to make an online income of $5,000 a month. And right now, my online income is $0 per month. And so I want to transition that to where I'm able to make $5,000 a month. And that way I can take and not be limited to where I have to be in order to make money. I can be free to make my money wherever I can find the internet connection and, take my laptop and hook it up. And I'm good for being able to then make an income and even have a passive income that even if I go for a couple months or a year without taking and working, then my income continues because it's a passive income. And so I'm developing those kinds of incomes online. And so that's my point B. And so with your life transitioning from monogamy to non-monogamy, or if you're already living a non-monogamous life, whatever transition that you're working on in your life, where's your point B? You can go back to health. Maybe the point B just simply is that where you can go out there and you can run, a 10K, like 6 mile run, or 5K, which is a 3 mile run. You can go out there and do a 5K run. And that doesn't mean you have to run all 3 miles without stopping. Kat did her first 10K run or 5K a number of years ago, and she did I think a 5K one day and 10K another day. And but when she did her first run, then it means that you run as long as you can run. Then you got plenty of time, so you stop, take a breather. For me, it's bicycling, being able to go out there and ride on my bicycle 100 miles a day, day after day after day. That's my desire. And so 100 miles in a day, well, if you break that down, think you've got maybe 12 hours that you can be out riding every day. That's then like 8 miles an hour. And that's kind of slow for riding a bicycle. So you got plenty of time to ride 100 miles in a day. And so think about then what your point B is. And then the next thing is what is stopping you from getting to point B? Now my point B is to make $5,000 a month online. And what was stopping me from doing that is taking the time and going through the steps to learn the things that I needed to learn. And to myself, as I talked about last week, transition myself in from being somebody who's always seen myself as not a technical person at all to suddenly thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm smart. I've got a brain. I can be a technical person if that's what I really need to be and want to be. I'm as capable. I've got a good brain, and I'm as capable as most people in being a technical person, because now I'm needing to develop a high degree of technical expertise and knowledge and abilities and skills. And so for me, that meant just taking and going step by step to learn that. Just like it took me 4 years to get through college, it took me 2 years to transition from monogamy to non-monogamy. There's these times that we have to give ourselves this transition period, but along those transitions, we have to be able to say to ourselves, wait a minute, what's stopping me from getting to point B? And you start to identify that. Now, not always do you know what all is stopping you, what all is in the way, but what's the thing that's stopping you right now from moving towards point B? What's the next step that you need to make that's stopping you, that's keeping you from being at point B? And so once you identify that, then you can start moving forward. And so then once you identify that next step, find out what's stopping you. For instance, for me, then it's being able to acquire the knowledge and then apply that so that I can be making my income, be making money online. And so what are the negative emotions do you experience because of what's stopping you? And so for me, yeah, last week I experienced some negative emotions, and those negative emotions were just some frustration because I get a little patient sometimes where, it's like I need to be making that money now, and I forget about the fact that, yes, sometimes your transition takes a little bit of time, and you have to just trust that you got to go through the steps, and it's one step at a time, one bite of that elephant at a time, and just go step by step, and I'll be talking a little more about that here in a moment. But be willing to take those steps. And so the emotions that'll come along, and the emotions that you feel right now, maybe, jealousy, or maybe envy, maybe fear, maybe uncertainty, what emotions come along the experience. So just identify those so that you can identify those, because once you identify them, then they're not going to creep up on you and catch you off guard. And you can identify them, and you can start working, processing through those emotions instead of taking and asking yourself, well, instead of that emotion of just being frustrated like I was last week, or maybe your emotion is jealousy, seeing your partner have sex with someone else, and so whatever your emotion is, then you can say to yourself, well, wait a minute, what is it that I want? And for me, what is it I want? Instead of frustration, I want to have that trust and that knowledge of knowing that I'm on the right path, and then have that come out as confidence, so that when I am sitting here talking to you and I'm sharing these things with you, and I'm doing the things that I do every single day in the work that I do, and learning these things that I need to learn, and applying these things that I need to apply. So I take all the little steps, and I just keep doing that with confidence and with trust. And I'm growing as a person and as an individual. And I'll be sharing some of those personal struggles with here in just a moment. And so the last thing for you to ask yourself, the last question here, unpacking all of this, is what would you have to lose that you actually value in order for you to have what you want? When I made that transition from monogamy to non-monogamy, I had to ask myself that, what would I have to lose, or what could I possibly lose? And I had to say to myself, well, I could possibly lose my marriage. But then I asked myself, okay, I've been married for 25 years. How important is it that I live in a marriage where I'm not all that happy for the next 25 or 50 years of my life? Is it worth sticking it out and hanging in there? And so what is it that I have to lose? Talking to someone here last week, and they said, well, I have my friends to lose. Okay, but think about this. Are you going to allow your friends to dictate to your life how your life should go, even if the life that you really want to create, that that you would love more than you love the life that you have now? It means that you're going to move to a non-monogamous life. And are you going to allow your friends to hold you back and to keep you back from that? So what do you have to lose? Yes, I valued my marriage. And yes, I could have my businesses to lose. And at that point, I had one business. I had my business to lose, and I valued that. I could lose my income, and I valued that. But, again, after 25 years of struggling and not enjoying my sex life like that I wanted to, that sex is a big deal. And I hope it's a big deal to you. Excuse me. And so I found that, there was nothing that I had to lose, nothing that I valued that I'd have to lose or potentially give up in order to have that I wanted. And so the thing is with time, with my current transition of making my income online, what do I have to lose? Well, that means that I have to give up some time, because it's taken me a lot of time to learn the things that I need to learn. And so I have to give up that time. And that means for me, that some weeks I don't have sex with another partner, another female besides my partner that I'm living with right now, and whether it be in Seattle with Chris or here in Ventura with Kat. And so, it means then that I may not be able to work in the scheduling the time to have sex this week with someone else. And, and sometimes that's okay. If it goes too many weeks, then it's like, okay, now I gotta go ahead and have sex with another woman, and make that happen. And so after a while, there's this give and this take in everything that we do. But it's helpful to identify the things that you value the most and set where those values are. And for me, I value my sex life. Of course, I value my income as well. But yet, yes, I give up the income for a great sex life, because it's sex life that really makes me happy. It's the relationships that I have with these women whom I'm having sex with that really make me happy. And so, yes, I'd like to have a little more income to be able to enjoy doing more things with them. And so that's why I'm working now. And then you end up creating this balance. But the thing is that you right now probably don't have that balance. If you're living that monogamous life, you're out of balance and you're not finding that and having that balance. So it's time for you to create that. And so let's go ahead and then review my week last week. And so the past week's focus was that I was going to learn the software called Smart Video Revolution software. And so I wouldn't say it's a pass by any means, because I didn't get it all learned. I wouldn't say it's a fail, because I'm in the process. And sometimes with these things, I just start out. I don't know if I can accomplish that in a week, or if it's going to take me a month. Like, I'm working on this project I told you with developing leads on LinkedIn. And with that process, then, it took me over a month just to get an LinkedIn account set up and established, because of some technical problems, and then the COVID virus, the LinkedIn staff wasn't there to help me and things like this. It took me over a month to be able to get a LinkedIn account established that I could get logged into it. Because the old LinkedIn account that I had was associated with an email address that just simply is no longer around. And so there's no way to get into that. And if you do the, forget password thing, then they send you a password to that old email address. And there's no way to get a hold of anybody at LinkedIn. And it became a month long, but over a month. It was about 5.5 weeks to be able to, what should have maybe taken maybe an hour at the most. So sometimes things just set you back like that. But that's okay. I kept moving forward, because I kept the result that I wanted. The overriding desire is to make $5,000 a month. And I kept that in front of me and knew I needed to keep moving forward. And so I kept moving forward, even if it took 5.5 weeks instead of an hour. And so the last week, I had no idea how long it would take me to learn this software, but obviously longer than a week. And I'm okay with that. Yes, that means that it's not as immediate and fast that I would like, but I'm okay with it, because I am making progress. I'm moving step by step through the steps. And sometimes those steps are simply going to take longer than what you expect. Just like when I went to open my marriage, I thought maybe in a month or two. It took 2 years to work through the process. And so that was a lot longer time, but I allowed that to happen. And look, now for the last 13 years, I have had just the most beautiful sex life, lovely, lovely life, having sex with multiple women. In fact, up till 13 years ago, I only ever had sex in my whole life with one woman. And now, to be honest with you, I lost track. And I love the fact that I'm a slut. and I love having sex with many women. And I don't find that if you've only had sex with less than 25 people, that's a good thing. I don't find that that's a good thing. I enjoy being a slut myself, and I enjoy the women that I'm with, the fact that they've been sluts, because that simply tells me that they've created a life that they love sex. And I want to have sex with women who love sex. And if they love sex like I love sex, then you got to love sex with multiple people. And so it's a wonderful thing. And that's the life that I created. And I hope that's the life that you want to create. And now I'm creating my online income. So last week I had some setbacks and frustrations, and I want to talk about that. Then, because in your life, if the transition from monogamy to non-monogamy, you'll have some setbacks and frustrations. Just like I told you, when I first approached my wife about maybe us having sex with other people, I thought, well, maybe it'd take a month. It took 2 years. But, and so, that's okay, because I've had 13 years now of lovely, lovely sex with lovely women. And so I got there. And so that's the key here. And so frustrations and setbacks that I had last week. And the first one is, instead of sending out 100 connection requests a day on LinkedIn, well, and see, that's one of the processes that I do. I have this software that goes through and identifies very specifically, very narrowly identifies the people in the United States that I am looking to connect with. They're coaches, they're business coaches in the United States, and consultants and advisors. And so he goes through and finds these people, and I want to send out then 100 connections a day. Now, over the period of a month, that's 30 days then, that'd be about 3,000 people. And there's more than 3,000 people to connect with. And I just have to refine my skills in finding them on LinkedIn. And so I need to then find them through using the software, and then the software automatically will send up to 100 messages to these people, one message per person, but they'll send 100 messages to these people, and it'll say, hey, this is a little bit about me. I'd like to connect with you. So if you'd like to connect, come on over and just click this button to say connect and become a LinkedIn connection with me. And so my goal is to send 100 of those connection requests a day. And last week, I'm only getting 1 to 11 a day. And so it's like, that's frustrating. What I need to do about it then, because, the question goes back here, what we said back here, this, what has been stopping you from getting to point B? Well, right now, stopping me is these connection requests. And so I have over 250 connections now on LinkedIn, but I want to be continuing to send 100 of these requests a day to build up my connections. And so I'm only getting 1 to 11. So what do I need to do about that? Well, then this week, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I contact the customer service of the people that, are helping me to learn how to do this process and this training online and what have you, that I paid them to help me learn how to do it all. And so, I'm going to send them a message and saying, hey, here's a problem I'm having. What do I need to do? And so hopefully that situation will improve. Now, another frustration that came along on Saturday, I went to open up my LinkedIn account on Saturday, and I got this message that says, you've been frozen out. It doesn't think that I'm a real person. And so they froze me out of my account and says, well, send us a copy of your government issued ID, like a driver's license. So I sent that to them. Well, so I did that, and then I got a message back saying, I'm sorry, we can't really read it clearly or something. I don't know. It says, send us another government ID. So I went and got my passport out yesterday, and today I'm going to send them a photograph of my passport. And so I've been locked out of my account Saturday and Sunday, and here mostly on Monday. And hopefully today I'll be able to get access again to my LinkedIn account. But yeah, that's a frustration. So sometimes you just have these things that happen that are out of your control. That's totally out of my control. But you just got to go through the steps. and say, okay, what do I need to do about this? And they don't believe I'm a real person. So what do I need to do about this? And so I need to prove to them that I'm a real person. And these are just some of the frustrations sometimes that you run into along the way when you're trying to create an income online. And there'll be frustrations that you run into along the way as well in creating a non-monogamous life. My first frustration that I ran into with my wife when I had my first conversation was she says, well, we're going to get a divorce. And that was frustrating, and I said, well, why? After 25 years of marriage, why would you tell me we're going to get a divorce? Because don't you acknowledge that our sex life, we've been working on this for over 20 years, and it's been nothing but a problem for both of us. And so I'm throwing out a solution, an idea to you. I haven't gone out and had sex with anybody else. So why then are you throwing out, for the first time in our whole marriage, the divorce possibility, And so, that was something then that we had to work through and process through. And it took us a year to process and work through that, where she then didn't feel so threatened, where she just knew that she was going to have to divorce me if then I was suggesting that we have sex with other people. And that took one whole year for us to work through, and a little over a year, about a year and a month, 13 months actually. And so, but again, that's just like that was that little setback for me in that journey. And but I continued just walking through it step by step. And there was a time where I knew that she just needed time to process and to think things through, and for me to back off. And so I did that. I didn't keep pushing forward, and I backed off and gave her time to process and think about things, and then would talk with her a little more about it. And so that was part of the journey that we went on. And so, like with LinkedIn now, I've got to, back off a little bit, let them take and do their thing and find out that I am a real person, and then open the door to me on my account again. And so another frustration, which again is something that I can't do anything about right now, and that is that when we watch trainings, these are videos that are hosted on the internet, and I can't always watch the trainings because that there are so many people. We're on cable here, and our internet is through a cable company, and they boast of great upload and great download speeds. And the thing that I knew is the difference between DSL and cable. Well, DSL, you have a dedicated line and you don't share that with anybody. But cable, you end up sharing that with everybody that's in your area, so to speak, your block that's on that cable. And so I can tell when everybody is home playing games and on the internet, because I just simply can't do the trainings that I do. It's usually in the afternoons and evenings, and I can't do the trainings then because you're sitting there trying to watch a video and it's like chopped liver, and it just doesn't come through. And so that's a little frustrating. So it's like I ask myself then again, what can I do about that? And the thing is, then I either wait until late at night or earlier in the day to do my trainings so that I don't have that problem to deal with. There were some accomplishments last week, and you always want to celebrate your accomplishments. So as you're going from your point A of monogamy to point B of thriving in creating the non-monogamous life that you love the most, then there's going to be small accomplishments, little wins along the way, and you want to celebrate all of them. And so like last week, my accomplishments, I shared with you in the last week's report that is about some of the things that I was encountering and what have you. And that sometimes we're going from point A to point B, that question again, what is getting in our way? What is stopping us? So for instance, then one of the things that's stopping me was a bad habit of not closing my computer down. And so that I would have so much going on my computer with my internet tabs that were open and my files that were open, that I simply was taxing my computer too much. And I had to create some new habits. And so maybe there are some new habits that you need to create, like maybe, brushing your teeth and being more mindful of what you eat so that you aren't always gaining so much weight and things of this nature, that you may need to go through. And so those are things that I'm going through where, I'm having to learn how to make sure that every day I'm closing down my computer. And I talked to you about that last week. So one of my accomplishments this week was that just about every night I got my computer closed down. That meant all my tabs, internet tabs were closed, and all of my files and documents were put away, and things were saved properly. So I wasn't putting at risk of losing things because my computer was regularly crashing and I was losing lots of data and lots of stuff that I worked with. It'd take me, I'd lose a half day or a day's worth of work. Seems like every week. And that was becoming a big problem for me. And so you look at what those problems are and you look for the solutions for them. And the thing is, if you're not moving from point A to point B, and you're just sitting there at point A, then you're not growing. You're not finding these solutions. And that's what I find with when I was stuck there in monogamy, there wasn't any point B. It was just there in monogamy. You just kept circling around and circling around and circling around to the same things and same things. And there was no moving forward at all. And so moving forward meant having a non-monogamous life. Moving forward means developing an online income of $5,000 a month. And so I hope that you're moving forward with your life. And sometimes we need to challenge ourselves to do these. And there's nothing more challenging that'll bring more change, positive change in your life than living a non-monogamous life. I found the number one thing that made the biggest difference in my life and creating the most positive change. The second biggest thing was creating a business for myself instead of relying on a paycheck where I just show up and go to work and do what I'm expected and told to do and do a good job, and then I get a paycheck, and so actually creating your own business. And so I started out years ago creating a sideline part-time business. And that was my first venture into business. And so, creating an online income is the way to go right now. And so that will bring about new challenges for you. And that's all growth and change that takes you from where you're stuck at being at point A, takes you on to point B. And so another part of that for me, my challenge is staying organized and on the point with make sure that I'm not missing things that are on my calendar for appointments that come up and trainings that I'm wanting to attend, and making sure that I'm organized and on top of things, and keeping track of my daily tasks and staying focused on my priorities. And so that was something that was an accomplishment for me last week. Doing better and staying on top of my emails every day, because I get all these emails in. These emails talk to me and are sent to me about trainings that I can attend that are good for me to attend. And I miss these trainings because I simply am not staying on top of the email. And that was a frustration. And so I had to start doing a better job of that. And I'm starting to do a better job of that. Still need improvement, but that was an accomplishment last week for me. Cleaning up my email by unsubscribing to some of those who are filling out my inbox. I get some of these guys that I was subscribed to, I found were sending me off 10, 12 emails a week. And they're just filling my email box with too much email. And so for those kind of people that are they're people that I like following them, but they're just crazy with the email. And I'm just learned that I have to unsubscribe to a lot of them. And I kept a document. So if I ever want to go back and subscribe to them later, I can do that. And it's all in a document on my computer. And so I'm not really losing anything. I'm gaining by getting them out of my email box right now, because I can't focus on anything they're bringing and stuffing in my email box. I can't focus on that stuff anyway. I'm focused on the task that's in front of me, and I don't want the distraction and all that. And so it was very helpful this last week. I started to unsubscribe, and I'll be continuing that process in the weeks to come, be unsubscribing to more and more people. So instead of getting 200 to 500 and sometimes 600 and 700 emails a day that I have to weed my way through, then I'd like to get it down to where I'm getting less than 100 emails a day. That'd be manageable. And so I've got to unsubscribe from a lot of people. And so then create a doable and workable day, and don't choke on trying to eat the whole elephant, but taking bites that are too big. And so that's something, again, I've gotten a lot better with my habits this last week, and creating the habit of just creating a doable and workable day, taking small bites that are things that I can actually accomplish and achieve and do, instead of just stuffing everything on one big long list. There's just no way I can possibly ever get it all done. And so that I'm able to build on some successes instead of seeing every day that I'm failing because I'm not getting it all done. And so that was an accomplishment last week. And then last week, I also got a bridge message sent out to all of my LinkedIn connections. So again, I have over 250 LinkedIn connections now. And before we basically send them the sales message, then we want to create some rapport with them. And so I create what's what we call a bridge message. And so I wrote up a bridge message, and I sent that last week out to all of my LinkedIn connections, and I felt that was a really great thing to have gotten accomplished. And so those are my accomplishments last week. Now, yes, I had some breakdowns and breakthroughs. You're going to have breakdowns and breakthroughs along the way as well. And the thing is that for me, a breakdown was just at the end of the week, getting to the end of the week and realizing that, I'm not making money online yet. And that's a little frustrating, but it's brick by brick, everything's a cinch. And in time, the Great Wall of China was built. And so then, as I think about that, and I think, well, the Great Wall of China didn't get built in one person's lifetime. And so again, going back to our earlier questions, unpacking questions, and you talk about then how you feel about the things that are getting in your way, and so I could say to myself, well, brick by brick, everything's a cinch. And in time, the Great Wall of China was built. Well, how do I feel about that? Well, I don't want to, not have this accomplished by the time I die, and so the thing is that you want to enjoy every single day and creating, because you create every day, and you want to create each day to be a day that you really love that day. And so like for me then, we're here still under lockdown in California. But, we're allowed to do certain things. We just, have to maintain social distancing. So every day I try to get out and take a walk. Now, do I get that done every day? No. But I try to get out in some fresh air and some sunshine and practice social distancing. And so I do that every day in order to have a good time. I met with a friend with benefits last week. So I had a really great time having sex with her, and I'm maintaining, I really make sure that she's someone that's safe for me to be with, and with this whole coronavirus thing, what have you. So, if you want to know more about how I stay safe in the time of coronavirus, I've just sent out an email to my email list. So be sure you subscribe over there at Non-Monogamous Lifestyles and get on the email list, subscribe to our email. It's down there in the description. And so when you subscribe, then you can get that email about how to stay safe with STIs and stay safe with a coronavirus in this time and day and age, And so there was an email I sent out recently, and you can get a copy of that when you subscribe as well. And so if you don't get, then send me an email if you subscribed and you didn't get a copy of that, let me know, and I'll make sure you get it. But Rome wasn't built in a day. And so take time for yourself, and take time for your health, for your recreation, for your love, and your sex life. Because those are all, for me, those are all more important than making another dollar. Taking time for myself, taking time for my health, taking time for recreation, getting out and going on my walks, getting on some bicycle rides, and then my love life, being in relationship with the women that I love, and then my sex life, and having a wonderful, glorious, non-monogamous sex life. And so you got to take time for those things, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and the things that you're working on transitioning to, that they'll come in time as well. And if you're not living a non-monogamous life yet, or if you're cheating on your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend, then just focus a little more attention on that person until you get that transition made. In that transition, that may mean that you change your relationship, then you're no longer in that relationship. That's a high risk getting a divorce, and that's okay too. And so whatever your transition, because you're creating a life that you're going to love the most, and sex is a big important part of that. And so now what is my focus for this coming week? Well, I will continue with that same focus that I had last week, and that is learning the Smart Video Revolution software. And I'll stay focused on that as long as I need to until I get it learned. And then I'll get it learned. You'll know I get it learned because I'm going to end up, the end result I'm looking for is that I'll end up creating a video using this special software. I'll create a video for my marketing agency. And so that's the result that I'm looking for. And I should write that in there, because what's the result? That's important. The result that you'd be looking for is that you're able to have sex with other women or other men, or with other men and women, or threesomes and foursomes, or orgies or gangbangs, or whatever you want to enjoy in your lovely non-monogamous life. But you're able to do that, and you're able to do that regularly. And so that would be the outcome of your transition. And so from there, that the rest of it's notes that I keep for myself for setting this video up every week. And so if you have any questions, be sure to go ahead and ask your questions by putting them in the comments section, and give me your feedback that way. If you want to email me directly, my email address is in the description as well. I'm going to switch over here to my screen again, and so that I can see if there's been any questions or comments posted. And I don't see, because that's another thing is while I'm here, you can always post a comment here live with me as well. And so thank you very much. I know that we allow an hours for this update every week, and if you stay with me and watch the whole hour, I really appreciate it. If you don't watch in a whole hour, I understand that too. But thanks for your time, and I appreciate you. Have a great week, and make your transitions happen.